back more Once Upon a Time. This is episode 15 of season 5. Very excited to see what's going to happen next. Last episode was quite a lot, and they brought Mila back. Then she was damned eternally, so that's not great. Lots of twists and turns with that, but we got Hook back, so that's fun, I guess. But the big reveal really was that Belle's pregnant with Gold's kid, so that's a whole ass mess right there. And Hades is using that information to get Gold to work for him. So I don't know what those two are going to get to. They're quite trickstery people. So that probably doesn't mean particularly great things for Emma and co trying to get out of the underworld. But yeah, it's put us and some characters in a very interesting position. And not just the one that conceived that child, am I right? So I am very intrigued to see what's going to be focused on next. How things are going to escalate probably even further, because we still have a little chunk to go of this season. So yes, I'm excited. Let's get into the next one.
There's no pen here, just dirt and things that smell like dirt. I swear
That'll be the dirt.
You should use the quill only to record the stories, not create them.
I don't care about the stupid stories anymore. I'm sick of sitting on the sidelines.
Who are you?
I want to stay down here.
After all that. Oh shit. Don't say finally.
You missed a spot there. Captain.
Do you think he's a bad person?
Well, there's a story in that book about Hades. We can learn his weakness and exploit it.
All right.
They're on about this is where I found the storybook. So. Sorry, I'm really surprised.
Would have been a short episode.
It's the embodiment of hope. Is that your protected big brother talk, where you want to make sure I'm good enough for killing?
No. Because I already know you're not good enough.
What?
Oh, right.
Killing blames himself for ending up here. Stop thinking about your own desires and let him go.
Oh my.
All I did was offer him a drink. The rest he managed all by himself. There's not much of
Oh dear.
It's either the Navy or more grain runs. Your favorite captain.
Not gonna leave him.
Come hell or high water, I cannot leave my brother.
Well, hell's quite right.
I didn't really care about that book except for a few select pages, the ones about me. So,
Well, yeah.
write the book and destroy them.
And if I refuse?
I'll tell your brother the thing you never could, the reason you're really down here.
James?
I got this. David, she thinks I'm here.
Oh god.
Go, go.
Oh no. Oh no no no.
So, Ruth, what would you like to try first? The champagne or me?
There's champagne. It must be weird, like trying to badly play a character that you yourself play.
What do you think of Liam, anyway? You don't think he's a little self-righteous?
I think he's got an excellent name.
Like you, does he? Who cares what Liam thinks?
Oi!
Forgiving yourself is the hardest thing to do. You want to help Hook? Help him with that.
It's true.
This voyage was never about the drain in the hole, was it? You're going up to the cursed sapphire, the eye of the storm.
Oh dear.
I have always abhorred the idea of mutiny. But if that's what it takes to save these men, so be it.
Is that flashback also going to tie into what Liam did that he hasn't moved on for? Or is that going to be something separate?
You're the lookout.
Lookout.
Don't argue with your mother.
What?
Or your mother.
She's got you there. There it is. What a coincidence that he'd be the one to find it. Oh, that pains me. Oh.
I'm sorry, brother.
I want to cut to Snow behind the curtain, like furious.
Does this hack really work on him? Because, frankly, I find it repulsive.
Oh, boo. Couldn't you have pretended to be Jimmy a little while?
Oh god.
the king and who stayed with her. She had to pick her favorite, and she picked you.
That is not my fault.
Your brother disagrees. He spent his whole life and death wondering why you and not him. One of these days, you two are going to meet, and it's going to be
CGI'd.
one hell of a reunion.
Oh.
Maybe he does know what his unfinished business is down here.
No, you're wrong about him. I know who my brother is.
You knew who he was when he was alive.
Find those pages.
I'm here to help you. Here.
Oh, do you make a deal with Hades?
Yeah.
Should have lit it with your head. Power move.
You know,
There we go. Power move.
you agree to let this ship sink like I want. And I promise to use my magic to ensure you and your brother survive. And to sweeten the deal, I'll even throw in this. Your dreams can be fulfilled.
Oh, Liam.
Now you can convince me I'm worth saving and that we've got a future together.
You agree with him?
Why bring me back if I should just move on? After we defeat Hades, I won't be returning with you. You are hiding something. It's nothing. It's ink from the pages. Emma was right. Why would you lie to me?
Because it's got much bigger secrets than what's in some book.
Oh dear.
About what he did to us.
Yeah. Oh yes, you can. That's why. These other poor bastards can't.
I found that out when I stopped by his tavern for my usual drink. He had a rather unexpected guest.
Ah.
Hades threatened to reveal the truth unless your brother destroyed the pages from that book.
Then I put on my beanie because it got serious.
And now you're both going to pay. Men!
Why is Hook coming to pay? Oh dear. Ah, they're walking the plank. That's what they did there.
What you did was raise the bar so high. The only thing I could do was fail.
No more talking! Time to face justice, boys.
Says you. You're an arsehole. Ah.
Did someone decide to have a party and forget to invite me?
Yeah.
And now for the brothers' jobs.
I won't let you hurt Killian. No matter what kind of deal we made.
Fine. Have it your way.
Whoopsie.
The only way to make amends is for you to pay the price.
Oh dear. Oh.
What's happening? You will pay for this.
Sucks to be you, buddy.
Now I can finally depart. And go.
Not much to stick around for after that, is there, buddy?
Get on board, man.
Yeah, get on board with the man who put you here.
And don't worry about reaching that bar anymore, Killian. You become a true hero in a way I never could. Goodbye.
Oh. Off he goes.
Found it. But how?
Yes, and by legitimate means.
Knocked unconscious. Your brother is a hero. My ship will bring you to the king.
Oh man, he had a complex about that for years.
We do not seek well.
She's the flagship of the Royal Navy. She's very pretty. What's her name?
The jewel of the realm.
JR, like Jolly Roger.
Perhaps I do deserve saving after all.
He just set the bar too high for himself.
Yes.
All this drama going on, and Henry spent that time looking for a pen. Fancy. And Hades exploded, and everyone went home.
What's my favorite grandson up to?
Sing.
Guess he wanted something else. What I had. Loving mother.
Please don't make this a lesson. Wait.
Aw, I love scenes with these two.
Whatever's going on with you, you know, you always have someone you can talk to.
I need to show you something.
The author's pen? I thought you destroyed it.
I'm glad he's
I
telling them.
did, but I just brought it here. She said you have all this guilt about killing her. And that's when I realized I have all this power, and I ignore it.
Has Emma forgiven herself for it?
Everyone's shadow, and they use the pen the correct way to recreate his story.
Hades went to a lot of trouble to keep us from learning his story, which means we're onto something.
Ah, that's quite cool.
What is Hades trying to hide from us?
Selena. Our secret remains safe.
Oh. I was wondering, like, when was she going to come back into things? Interesting. Okay, really good episode. I very much enjoyed the kind of focus on brothers they almost had in a way. Obviously, the main one was Hook and Liam, or Killian and Liam. But there's also a bit, kind of a C plot, I guess, of David and his brother. The fact that, you know, James resented David all his life because he wasn't like the chosen kid by the mother. And I can kind of see that that would then give him a spiral. And I think that also ties into like a big theme with this one. I think is like maybe living in someone's shadow, or, you know, the bar being set too high for yourself. You feel like you're not good enough. That was very much the case with Hook, feeling like he was never going to match up to the person his brother was, and that meant he couldn't forgive himself, so just wanted to move on and get it done with. So he felt like he could never reach the high bar that his brother set for him. And I guess James also would have felt that. The fact that David was the one that their mum chose to keep. He probably felt like, well, why am I not good enough then? Why was I not chosen? So he felt like he couldn't match up to that. And I think Henry kind of also falls into that. He kind of felt that way as well. So I like how they tied all of those things in together, like the themes. They're like very strongly represented in the episode. And that is impressive considering we didn't actually see James himself in the episode. Obviously it's the same actor. But I like that they were exploring a lot of different things then, and I think it's going to set up some interesting stuff with David and James when they, I imagine, inevitably do cross paths during this arc at some point. And I can't wait to see how that's achieved, probably with like green screen, etc. But yeah, I really liked those kind of themes coming through, and, you know, the ideas of brothers in general, like the different relationships was explored with like the two key pairings. So I liked the different things that went forward with that. Forgiveness being another big theme they explored. I loved the bit where Regina gave Emma that advice about, you know, forgiving yourself is the hardest thing you can do, and how Regina had to do that at some point. I think Emma's had to do that as well, and it was about making Hook see that he needed to also do the same. So I liked everything with that. And yeah, some really interesting stuff being set up there. I mean, it was cool to see Liam again, mainly because I like hearing people say Liam on TV shows I watch. It's hilarious. But the real main reason is, you know, it provided some good stuff, I think, with both Hook and Liam. The idea that he wasn't like this perfect person. He had made that deal with Hades way back when, tying that into like this main arc as well. Just sacrificing all those people so he could finally live his dream. I mean, pretty damn brutal that he just let all those people die. They probably should have been nicer to him. But, well, it's only really Captain Silver, I think, was the arsehole. He seemed okay with everyone else. But he sacrificed them nonetheless. And it's just cool that we have stories like that. And then with the underworld concept, it's quite cool because people you've wronged or people you sacrificed or whatever, you're going to bump into them there if they have the unfinished business, and they did. So I like how that kind of all tied in together, and Liam's secrets just very quickly caught up with him, and allowed Hook to see that his brother wasn't as perfect as the bar that he'd set himself to be. And therefore that could allow him to, you know, try and forgive himself, try and have a life of his own, and try and just move on in a similar way to how his brother could in the end, and find peace that way. But to do that, he might just need to live more of his life to properly forgive himself and to do more good. And I liked what Liam was kind of saying as they parted, the fact that Hook kind of became a hero in the way that he can never be in his own right. And I really like that, because that speaks to Hook's development since we first met him. And it is very true as well, and probably something that Hook wouldn't have really considered, because again, he sets the bar so high for himself, and he probably has such a huge inferiority complex about it. He finds it hard to, I guess, properly recognise his achievements in that way, and especially when it's directly comparing himself to his brother, which, you know, he was the drunk one, he was the layabout one, he was the nuisance and the weak link. He wasn't the one who found the stone thing, apparently Heart of the Sea or whatever it was called, Heart of the Storm, Eye of the Storm, got there in the end. And that was probably also hanging over him. And then to lose Liam in the way that he did, it all kind of tied together nicely into why Hook kind of felt that way, and why he judges himself so harshly, like how quickly he turned to the darkness earlier in the season, when he was like the Dark One and everything. So I thought that was really cleverly done in terms of Hook's character, and it felt kind of a natural progression for him to make some peace over that with his brother, to allow, you know, watch his brother move on and everything. That was really cool. And I did like how they tied Liam's backstory, or some of it at least, to Hades. That allows him to get rid of the pages, and allowed for then the dramatic reveal at the end. So yeah, I think a lot of the guilt that Liam probably also felt is why he lashed out on Emma a bit as well, because he himself knew he wasn't as perfect as his brother thought he was. Emma was a way of getting close to that truth in a way, but I do think it did come from a nice place overall, because he just did it out of his love for his brother. But I like that he kind of realised that he was wrong about Emma, because she didn't hold Hook to the bar that he held himself against for all this time. So therefore I think that actually makes her quite good for him, because while it is important that you can love yourself and praise yourself in that way, it's still better to have someone there that can kind of cheer you on and ease you into that place, which I liked. And the idea of, like, does Emma like forgive herself for what happened with becoming the Dark One, her path to darkness, like killing Cruella, and then everything kind of started that, and that could therefore tie into what Henry was also talking about what Cruella was trying to get him to do in finding the pen and everything. So yeah, I really liked everything with that, and seeing Liam move on with the rest of the crew that died was pretty cool, as well as seeing Hades kind of in a very Gold-esque way make some deals. I do wish they continued the Gold stuff in this one. It was kind of strange to have that big moment where he's like, you work for me, and he did everything himself in this episode and Gold wasn't even around. But, you know, that's fine, there's going to be time to kind of explore that side of things. But yes, I'm continuing to love Hades as the villain. I think the actor's really great, and just the kind of, I don't know, the smugness I guess he has in a way I really enjoyed. And you see him actively like seeking out like potential souls for his underworld. You know, I think it is kind of, I think his powers do kind of go to, or are limited by, whatever the plot requires at any one time, I feel like, in this episode. Because, you know, he's like, somehow can make himself appear to other people, saying, well, I can't hurt you in the overworld or whatever, but he can then save them with his magic from like a storm or whatever. That seems weird, that he can like save them but can't then just hurt them or kill them or whatever, and just project himself to them anyway, instead of just waiting for the souls to appear in his underworld. That does feel a bit like whatever the story requires of him, but I guess that's just one of those things. But regardless, I do like seeing a lot of him, and now that he seems to have a past with Zelena and he wants to keep that hidden from them, is Zelena going to be his weakness? Is she going to be key to maybe stopping him and doing something with this arc? Because Zelena's been gone for quite a while now, I feel. She's been out of the picture for a little bit, so I am intrigued to see how this is going to bring her back into it, I would assume, because it's about time, I would guess. But that's a really exciting prospect, because I think Hades and Zelena, those are two characters that I think would bounce off each other very, very well and have some very cool interactions. So I'm excited to see what that past is, and why that could be maybe a way of stopping him. So that just adds like another thing to get excited about with this arc, which I was already very much enjoying. But to probably delve into Hades as well and some backstory for him, as opposed to him just being the villain, I think is really cool. So I'm excited about whatever that prospect could mean and what their secret is. That should be quite exciting. So yeah, liked everything with that. Love the scene with Regina telling Emma about forgiving herself and everything. That was really great. David and Cruella, oh my god. I do like that they have a few comical moments in there, and it did seem like that was mainly the case for David and Snow in this one. Cruella was more than aware that it wasn't James, and he was acting up to it anyway. That was quite funny. Cruella is a great deal of fun. I wonder how she's going to react to Henry maybe being like, you know what, I'm not going to help you. Because she does have a very nice presence, I think, in the show. She's definitely very bold and brash. I love to see her and Hades kind of spar with each other as well. I think that would be quite entertaining. But I'm still loving her kind of appearances and things. And this was a really great episode for David as well. I like that they seem to be giving him a plot line with James to give him some focus again. And I loved his scene with Henry near the end. I love those two interacting ever since like season 2-ish. I think they've had some really great scenes together. And it was like just two of them for the first half of season 2. So I like that they revisit that bond. David just reminding Henry that he does have a family that he can open up to, and he opened up to Henry in turn about what was going on with him and James, and that kind of lit that spark in Henry to tell everyone about what was going on with the pen stuff. It's so good to not have people feel like they have to keep all these secrets. I like that, you know, they can share it with other people, and it's not just like for convenient or plot's sake, miscommunication's sake, to make good drama out of it. People keep all these things to themselves. I like that he actually openly told them about that. And that then spawned a very interesting idea, like they need to revisit Hades' story, and Henry needs to actually become the author again, and write that story out again, to maybe then find out what Hades was hiding, since the Page thing with Liam and stuff didn't work out. I think that's a really cool idea. Great way of putting Hades in the spotlight as well, giving some focus to him, exploring some cool maybe characters from the Hercules side of things. Even more so, obviously, we've already had Hercules and Meg. But they could explore some other sides of that, I suppose, the lore behind it. And with the Zelina thing on top of that. That's going to be very interesting. So I love that. And I just like that it gives spotlight on Henry again and making him the author. Hopefully doing the right thing, and therefore the apprentice moved on as well. Came to the right conclusion. It was cool to see him pop up, however briefly. It could be a really interesting story for Henry as well, which I'm quite excited for. So I did feel almost a bit of a shame when he broke the pen last season. So the fact that he has a chance to actually be the author and record the stories again, I think is great. So I love that idea. And to revisit that whole story with this one was very, very good. So yeah, lots of really great stuff going on. I'm excited to see how we continue on with this next, because we have the gold stuff on top of the idea of exploring Hades' story from the beginning, which will be quite cool to learn, especially because I'm not overly familiar with like Hades' backstory or Hercules in general. I feel like I have seen the cartoon, but certainly not for a very long time. I couldn't tell you what happens in it. So if they like borrow elements from that, or they do stuff from the proper lore or whatever, I'm really intrigued to learn more. And yeah, I love the stuff with David as well. Looking forward to a meeting between him and James. Corella's a lot of fun, as she always is. The focus on Hook and Liam and their kind of brotherly bond. And that was also very nice to give a bit of closure to that. The idea of forgiving yourself, judging yourself too harshly, you know, the idea of brothers, stuff like that, the themes they had going on, very well explored and represented through the different stories in this one as well. Just a really great kind of exploration of that, and a really good episode overall. And I'm excited to see what they do next. How many? I think there's 23 episodes this season, so we still have a good chunk to get. We have like another 8, I think. 7 at the very least. So plenty of time to kind of do everything that I think they have got going on, maybe even more. So I'm intrigued to see where all this is heading, but it's definitely continuing on in a very cool direction. So look forward to seeing more. And I think that's going to be everything for now. But until the next reaction, thanks for watching.